Hi, welcome to the video. I'm John, and this is part 5 of the stop sign guitar build. At the end of the last video, I was talking about the wiring and the headstock design. I'm not at a point where I can talk about the wiring, so this video is going to be all about how I designed and made this headstock. Originally, I wanted it to look like a vintage style headstock, almost like as if Fender designed their headstock from this one. And I really think I captured that look, but it didn't come about overnight. Originally what I did was take pictures of the headstock and kind of manipulate them on the computer with some mock-up drawings, just silhouettes to try to get an outline shape. And I got close, but it wasn't until I started doodling little drawings of headstocks that I started working my ideas out. And then finally I made a drawing, and that was it. So from there I took that and turned it into a full-scale drawing that I could work from. So this video is all about how I took that little drawing and turned it into this headstock. The first thing I did was make some cardboard templates, traced from the full-size drawing. With these, it'll be easier for me to know where to trim the headstock, cut out my mahogany piece, and know where to carve the scroll. Since my bandsaw blade isn't quite sharp enough to cut through the thick hardwood smoothly, I drill small holes beside the lines I traced to help the blade cut easier. This is just a rough cut at this point anyway. The router will clean the edges up later. I decided to join the two pieces of wood with an S-curve rather than a straight line. This is much more challenging to pull off, and if the two pieces don't fit together perfectly, the design won't work. Very carefully and slowly, I cut the S-curve in a piece of masonite. Because they are cut from the same piece, they fit together perfectly. One piece will be a template for the headstock, and the other piece for the mahogany. I'm hoping that after I clean up both edges with the router, the pieces will fit together as perfectly as the template. These templates are too small to hold in place with clamps, so I use double-sided tape. A layer of masking tape on the headstock makes it easier to remove later. Even though this works really well, I try not to put too much pressure on the templates as I'm routering. If the template slips just a bit, the two pieces will never fit properly. But it actually works out so well, I have to pry the templates off with a putty knife. I feel like beginner's luck was on my side, because everything fit together just right. The headstock on any guitar not only has to support the tension of the strings, but be able to withstand the odd bump here and there. In my design, the added wood does not have much direct string tension on it at all, only half of the high E string. But I make the joint as strong as possible by not only using glue, but 2 carefully placed wood screws as well. Attaching the mahogany to the rest of the headstock worked out really well, but this is still quite a bit thicker. So I attached the headstock to the tabletop with a couple of screws going through the tuning peg holes. And then I used my router in my fixture, which I can slide back and forth. I adjusted the bit so it just touched the maple on the headstock. That way it would trim off the mahogany nice and flush. I did the exact same thing on both sides, a little bit of hand sanding, and then I was ready to move on. Before I can route the shape of the headstock, the 2 screw holes have to be plugged with dowels. The sides and back of the headstock will be painted. The dowels hopefully will never be seen. Finally, the last template is attached. With this, I can router the finished shape into the headstock. At the bottom of the scroll, there's a small cut-in. I drill out most of the wood, then finish it by hand using small files. The actual scroll is just a shallow indent, but I patiently take my time carving out the shape to get it just right. This neck was originally designed for modern type tuning pegs. Since I'm installing vintage style tuners, the original screw holes have to be plugged. Round toothpicks work perfectly for this. The tuning peg shaft holes need to be drilled out, doweled, and re-drilled to fit the vintage tuners. Lastly, the tuning peg screw holes are drilled, and the headstock is now done and ready for paint and clear coat. So it's hard to believe that it's part 5. Originally this guitar wasn't complicated. It was just going to be maybe 3 parts and then on to the next project. But I kept bringing in more and more things to make it complicated, having fun with it. But so anyways, next video will definitely be paint and clear coat. And so subscribe to my channel, like my videos, share them, and check out the t-shirts because they're really cool. and they really help out with all of this crazy stuff. So thanks for watching.